All right, welcome into the latest episode of Before Floor, an extension of 5 on the Floor, and Floor's yours. We need a name for the halftime show. If anybody can come up with that, they get a prize. Couldn't figure out anything that worked with Floor. Ethan Skolnick here. Wasn't expecting to be here, but that's a story for another time. Matthew Perdomo is on that side, on my right. Alphonse Sidney on my left. Brady Hawk beneath. Jenna, Mark has made it. We've been awaiting this for quite a while. And then Greg Sylvander is here on my, diagonally, something like this. The big news today, Eric Spoelstra came out about 45 minutes before, it was about an hour before the game, and said everybody's available. So we all tweeted everybody's available. And then all of a sudden, a rather important piece is not available. No Jimmy Butler tonight against the Celtics as the Heat try to win their first in the season series, already lost the first two. According to the Heat, he's nursing a sore ankle. Ankle has been a problem for him throughout the season, but didn't know that anything was an issue right now. Let's get right to it. I'll start with you, Greg. What direction do you think I don't think the starting lineup has been announced yet, has it? I don't believe so.
Not that I've heard.
What direction do you think they go with the starting lineup? Who replaces Jimmy?
Well, the way Spo's been doing this, it's probably going to be the last guy that we all talk about. But I would say that
Chris Silva.
Right? Exactly. You know what? I'm going to kind of come out of left field with this and say Derek Jones Jr. I have a feeling that this is a scenario where Spo would want to plug in a guy that's not already in a primary bench rotation role and kind of have almost like a placeholder that would start. So DJJ kind of fits the bill there, particularly with the wings and the defense you need to make up. So that's my total guess. But who knows? Maybe it would be Myers Leonard all of a sudden.
All right. Well, they already announced it. It's Kelly.
See?
Yeah, it's Kelly Olynyk. So they go with Kelly. The good thing is, I didn't hear anything Greg just said, because I always have that issue where I can't hear one person, and it's always the first person I go to. I don't know why this app does this to me, but I hear everybody else.
He predicted accurately that Kelly was going to start.
So. Is that what he said? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'll take the credit, though.
All right,
that's
so let's get to Kelly starting, and then I'll come back out, and I'll come back in, and then before I call on Greg again. Kelly Olynyk starting next to Bam Adebayo. Great minutes together. Typically, they did play together a little bit more. We kind of predicted that was going to start to happen. It seems to me that this is the easiest way to get Myers Leonard back in the rotation, right, for at least one game, even though you're playing a team that doesn't have a ton of bigs because, unless they're going to play Silva off the bench instead of Leonard, they need a big. They're going to go with Bam, with Bam and Olynyk starting. Brady, that combination together it's interesting. You're playing against a Boston team that doesn't have as many bigs as Denver does. Against Denver, you go small. Against Boston, you go big.
I think one of the reasons might be when you look back at those games, because Myers was starting, Bam played a lot of those minutes on Tatum, played a couple of them on Hayward, but mostly Jimmy was guarding Hayward. But it might have something to do with that. They like their matchup better when Bam's guarding Tatum today, especially without Jimmy Butler playing. But it also, Olynyk playing might be because they're starting Jay Crowder now, and they have such a good combination when they play together. So maybe that could be another reason.
All right, I'm back and I can hear you. Thoughts on that, Greg? Speak.
I was just going to say, the first thing that jumped off the page to me about Jimmy Butler being out is we need a Kendrick Nunn game more than ever. We need him to bounce back. There's certain things he does from a scoring perspective that we can't go without that tonight. So that's going to be something that I'm looking for. That's probably the biggest thing I'm looking for is we need a K-Dot bounce back game.
Okay, when you look back at all Jimmy Butler's games where he didn't play, all of them, I think, a good portion of them, none had over 20. So I think that's, especially in the wins. So I think that is a good point because it's going to be a big part.
Yeah, that's true, actually. If you look at Kendrick's numbers, whereas Hero plays better with Jimmy, Kendrick doesn't. Which has been kind of an odd phenomenon this year. All right, but Alf, if you're looking at it that way, you've just taken your primary ball handler out of the starting lineup. You and I just devoted an entire podcast on 5 on the Floor yesterday to, what you do when you don't have
of course,
Goran or Jimmy. And now they don't have Jimmy, and they didn't put Goran in the starting lineup. Instead, they put a big who handles. Is this all dribble handoffs? Or it's every possession, dribble handoff, Kelly,
all day long.
dribble handoff, Bam, because they don't have a point guard in the lineup tonight.
Well, I will say you're probably going to see a lot of Bam bringing the ball up along with Kendrick. We talked about you guys talked about how Kendrick plays well when Jimmy isn't on the floor. So hopefully you're going to see a good game out of Kendrick Nunn. He's going to have his hands full on the other end because we've been talking about Jimmy handling the point of attack a little bit more. Well, we're not going to see that tonight. You're not going to put Duncan Robinson or Jay Crowder on Kemba. So Kendrick Nunn is going to have to show that he can defend elite point guards for 25, 30 minutes a game, which he has not shown yet. So that's going to be really, really, really interesting to watch. And then on the other side, you got you're going to have a much smaller guy on Bam, right? Unless they do some switching. There's going to be some interesting things that the Heat can do offensively with Kelly and Bam out there. They're going to have a lot of trouble with that size on the other end. We've seen Kelly doesn't mind going down low and banging a little bit, so he might do a little bit of that with Tatum or Brown, whoever. It's going to be the cross match is going to be really interesting. The things they do offensively are going to be really interesting. So, I mean, listen, I think we're all kind of getting away from worrying about seeding as much, because the Pacers look better than the Sixers right now. You like the home court advantage means nothing. So, like, really at this point, why play Jimmy on a back-to-back? If his ankle's even a little bit sore, why play him? All right.
Yeah, I think they're seeding the three at a certain degree. I think they've just decided, we match up okay with Milwaukee. We want to get our guys right. It doesn't mean they're not going to play hard, but like you said, Philly almost lost should have lost to San Antonio last night. Jenna, your impressions of the Heat's bubble play so far?
I think that they're probably one of the best teams, if not the best. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Miami fan, but I think they've come out as a unit the strongest. I think we've seen the Lakers have their slump. They lost to the Clippers. I mean, I have on the TV right now Phoenix and the Clippers right now. The Clippers look like a fraction of the team that they are or had been the full prior to the break, as I call it. But I think that they've really shown that this camaraderie unit, this team unit that exists within the bubble off the court has really helped them on the court in more ways than it's probably helped other teams.
Well, I think to that too. I mean, I think the other trends we're seeing, Matt, I mean, you take a look, a couple of things have played out here. One is 3-point shooting is way up, not percentage-wise, but attempts-wise in the bubble. Everybody's gunning. I mean, the game, I'm watching that Nets-Bucks game where the Bucks didn't care, but and they were 19-point favorites and lost, and Giannis played under 20 minutes. I mean, they combined for about 100 threes. And we talked before the bubble game started about how, right when the scrimmages were starting, about how it was a shooter's background. The shooters liked it. It seems like the coaches have just decided until everybody gets our legs right, we're just going to shoot threes. It's easier to do that than to get real physical with them. I do think ultimately that plays into Miami's hands as this goes forward a little bit. But Matt, what have been some of the trends? I know you play the numbers sometimes here a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, you know what? It's been a big over game, right? Like a lot of the games have gone on the first day. Every game went over the line, and not just by like 2 points, 3 points. There were some that went up by like 30, a 30, point difference from what the line was at. So that's a big trend. And I think I haven't checked today what happened last night's over and under, but everything looks to be going in the over direction.
Well, the Clippers Suns game is going to go over. Brooklyn, Milwaukee was 235 today. And Toronto's getting praised for great defense. And the Heat went over 100 yesterday, right? I mean, so
everybody goes over 100 nowadays, right?
No. But it's not 200. They're like at 230, 220.
No. What I'm saying is when I look at what's going on in the bubble, the Heat and the Raptors seem to be the only two teams playing any kind of defense.
Yeah.
Right now, you hold somebody under 110 points, like you're doing a hell of a job, and the Heat have done that twice. Mm-hmm. And really, the Nuggets had no business getting anywhere near 110, but it was just mop up time. They were down by 30, so they just
But
There was a lot of
that's another game that went over. I think the line was at like 210.
yeah, but that was on. I'm talking about, but that was on the Heat side.
Yeah.
Because the Heat scored. So the Heat Heat and Raptors have been the two best defensive teams in the bubble so far.
How many overtime games have there been already? Like in this bubble, I think there's been like 5 or 6.
At least a handful.
Most and Dallas, Sacramento went overtime today. And Doncic, take a look at Luka's line today. That line was ridiculous. But again, I think, Greg, as we look at the Heat, let's talk in the general context today. I mean, look, I'm expecting.
Ethan was expecting something, but we didn't hear what exactly it was.
No. I got to call it. I got to call it. I'm back. I was expecting a Boston win tonight. Obviously, the Jimmy thing, it makes it even more challenging when you're playing a team. We've complained that, the Heat have one two-way wing, and now they don't have any going against the team with 3. But if you look at this now, Milwaukee loses today. They're still going to wrap up the number 1 seed eventually. They didn't play Lopez, and they didn't play Matthews today. They play Thursday against the Heat. I think that the Heat's going to get a better Milwaukee performance Thursday than they would have otherwise because Bud probably doesn't like what happened today. So I do think that's going to get more difficult. And I think to Alf's point, I think that the Heat went into this thinking, okay, let's chase down the 3 seed if we can keep everybody engaged and healthy and still make a run at it. But at a certain point, you may just decide, it's not that important. And I think he might tinker a little bit more over the last 5 games.
And I don't think it's because I'm sorry, Greg. I was just saying I don't think it's because of the fact that they don't think they can catch Boston. I think it's because you look at the 5 or 6 matchup right now, and you're not really scared of either of those teams, but you're definitely not more scared of the Sixers than you are the Pacers right now.
Yeah, no. The other part is like, at this point, there's so much you can't control from a seeding perspective that it's almost ridiculous to try to lean into that anymore because it's just so much is out of our control. But going back to talking about today and expecting more of a loss, a couple things to watch for. Kemba Walker's on a minutes restriction, so he's not going to get more than 20, 22, 25 minutes. So I think that helps the Heat in this scenario from a point of attack defender perspective. I want to see a bounce back game from Duncan Robinson. Like that is something that it was unprecedented what we saw versus Toronto. So those are a couple other things that are huge today specifically. Milwaukee's probably going to come out and play a more inspired brand of basketball. So then you start to, if you rack up three losses in 4 games, I know that, Heat fans will be having a heart attack, but it's not time to panic. I really feel like that Toronto game, a lot of people were really upset about it. I really felt like a lot of positive came out of it. There's a lot that they can work on. The free throw disparity, the end of the game, the flagrant on KO, like all that stuff. I feel like Miami, all things considered, really almost outplayed Toronto in certain ways. So I'm not as down on this, even if they lose the next 2.
I'm not either, but I think to look forward, Heat fans are going to freak out because if you lose this one and then Milwaukee comes out more inspired. Remember, the Bucks lost twice to the Heat during the regular season too. They may want to send a little message in case they're playing them in the second round. I do expect that maybe Lopez and Matthews play. Probably Giannis gets more minutes. But then also, if you look at the back end of the schedule now, we were looking at that Suns game. If Phoenix wins today and they're up 2 against the Clippers with 4 minutes left, they're kind of in position to get in that play-in situation in the West. I mean, you've got Zion on the minutes restriction. Memphis looks terrible right now, and the Spurs looked a little better, but they lost the last one. The Suns can get in that mix. They have some elements that could give the Heat problems. And then you're looking at the 2 Indiana games where, TJ Warren's feeling himself right now a little bit. I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, don't panic with the wins and losses here. It's another thing to say if the Heat go 2-6 in the 8 games,
that's true.
What Heat fans are going to be feeling about going into the postseason.
Yeah, they won't feel good.
As they should.
Another thing to keep an eye out is that the last game that we have in the bubble is going to be versus the Pacers, right?
Yeah.
We might control who we play at the end, right? Because the 76ers and the Pacers might have a 1 game differential at the end of this. So we might be able to say, and our last game is versus the Pacers, so we might just be able to say, hey, we want to play the Pacers. Let's
they might
remember,
Matt, the Sixers schedule, and you can't guarantee anything with the Sixers right now, but their schedule is soft the rest of the way. They're playing a lot of, but they're also playing teams that are trying to compete to get in the play-in, so you don't know because they might be playing all their guys. But their schedule. So I'm watching right now. Indiana's up on Orlando 16-3 right now through the first 4 minutes. TJ already has 6. I mean, TJ Warren has turned into Michael Jordan in the bubble. So
he really wants to play Jimmy.
I guess, and now Jimmy's out. It's that one's interesting, but yeah, they will control their destiny. But I wonder, how you play that. Like, if you're stuck in the 4. Which, look, they lose today, they're stuck in the 4. I mean, that's best case scenario. They're going to be 3.5 games behind Boston without the tiebreaker.
Yeah,
they're stuck in the 4.
Over.
It's over. I think if Jimmy's ankle is not that bad and they made a decision for him to sit, I think it's an indication that they basically decided on that. It's not worth the chase.
I think if you're look at that Indiana matchup, you're like trying to play it out, see with that last game, you're going to probably sit Jimmy if you're trying to get that 4. You're not going to play him. You're probably going to sit there and try because Jimmy's going to play good against CJ Ward and try to do something against him. So I think they might sit him and rest that ankle up a little bit more.
Well, again, it depends who they want, right? I mean, if you want Indiana to get the 5 because you want Indiana, then you sit Jimmy.
Yeah. You don't want to give away too much if you're about to face a team in a 7-game series and you're playing them 2 of the last, of the final 3. But today, and I keep going back to today because I'm trying to stay in the moment here, but like we gotta see a huge Bam game, right? Like this is today is all about Bam Adebayo. He's got plus matchups. Really, like this is a game. You remember in the second half of that Philly game where he started going to the basket relentlessly and basically like scored or assisted on every play, like the final 20 plays. Like we need to see that kind of Bam come out today with that mentality.
And that's what I wanted to see yesterday.
What was the game that I think the game where Jimmy was out with the Wizards? Bam went off at the end, right?
The Wizards game. Yeah, I thought that was the turning point game for him, actually.
So,
we kept saying,
we would like to see that today.
Well, you do, but again, I'm looking at the starting lineup, and I'm just saying who's getting them into offense. Like, this is something Alf and I talked about yesterday. Like, Kendrick Nunn looked like a point guard in Summer League, and he hasn't looked like one since. Like, he needs to play point guard today, right? Like, he needs to
I think you're going to see
organize.
I think you're going to see that from Bam more than you are from Kendrick, to be honest with you.
And some Iggy too. I think that they're going to, just by virtue of the fact that they don't have anybody else. And Goran, I mean, Goran coming off that other game, his legs look fresh. Let's hope they look fresh 2 days in a row. But you just have limited options. I mean, at this point, would we be surprised to see Gabe Vincent active?
I was just going to say that. Maybe.
I think it's going to be either a Goran or a Tyler Hero show. Mattering, I don't know if Marcus Smart's going to be guarding Goran. I would think he'd be guarding Goran, but I think if he is, whoever he's not guarding, that they're going to be a big part of this game if they could show up on offense.
Well, that's the other question. So, okay, Goran comes in the game and you hand him the controls. Do you really want Goran playing 30 minutes back to back?
Nope.
At this stage?
It should be a big Hero game. It really should.
Right.
Hero and yeah, you probably will see some Gabe. As someone said, unleash Gabe, Alfonso Hoops. I haven't seen that hashtag yet. I've seen a lot of free KZ. The unleash Gabe is a new one.
Or get Solomon Hill in there for you.
Is it? Yeah, exactly. Is it me or do Heat fans like? Heat fans love the unknown more than any other team I've ever seen, right?
Oh yeah,
it's the guy they haven't seen is always better than the guy they've seen.
It's like I know we have LeBron, but what is Terrell Harris about? Let's get him out there.
It's those damn hope trafficking influencers out there.
Heat fans could be married to Angelina Jolie. And they would still be at the club. It's just like they gotta find something else.
That was such an old man reference.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Angelina Jolie right now. I'm like,
yeah, right.
Alf, right now, just say.
I understand. I get it.
Thank you.
Alf used to call them our shiny new bums.
Yeah.
Because if it was like a guy we never heard of before, and then they'd be gone, they're on a 10-day contract.
The shiny new bum. I can't say that stuff anymore. That's old. That's old Alf. That's old Alf.
That's old. I'll have to ask Brady if he's heard of Angelina Jolie. All right, let's get to some of the comments before we go.
Ethan's talking about Sophia Loren.
Sophia Loren. All right, we got
a young Betty White.
Actually, she was a meme yesterday. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that one, Betty White.
That was pretty damn good. All right, let's get to some of the comments here while we got a second. Surprised I didn't go Marilyn Monroe. All right, there we go.
Sorry, Ethan.
I don't like blondes. All right, it's anyway. Let's keep going with this. If I have to say to you guys right now, you want Philly or you want Indiana First round. Matt, start.
Indiana. I would try to take Indiana. That would be me. I would let the 76ers, the Celtics, and the Raptors all in their own bracket. Let me take Indiana, and then I'll play the Bucks after. I don't want to worry about all those three teams.
Alf?
Just because I don't think the Heat are winning a title this year, I don't want the Indy series and losing the Indy for some strange reason, like there's an injury. Like I don't want that. I'd rather like a really fun series against Philly, and Philly gets their act together. We lose against Philly in 6 or 7, or we beat the crap out of Philly. Like that would feel way better than beating Indy. To me, I'm always about give me the entertainment value, and a series against Philly is way more interesting to me than a series against Indy.
We got a who cares Heat and 4. For the network, I want Philly. For the network, I want Philly. That will be a fun. That'll be like Tua being drafted for us.
I'll be getting calls from Philly radio stations out of nowhere.
We're gonna cross pod with that Ricky Sanchez pod or whatever.
Oh hell yeah, let's go. Lego.
We would get to do Sixers slander on every episode. I mean, like,
oh my god,
it's beautiful.
Like 2 weeks of Sixers slander.
You know what I've noticed? Our best traffic episode ever was this thing that Alex and I did the other night, and it's only because I put 76ers slander in the title. That's it. That's the only reason. That episode went over 4,000 in a day. Just because I said 76ers slander. Greg, you want the Sixers?
The short answer is yes, but let me just unpack it a little bit. It's because I think we're discounting Indiana from they're a really competitive team. Like they have a lot of that stuff that Miami has from the fact that they always hustle. They're really like a dirty work type of team. So like when we think about an easy series, I don't think that's going to be that easy of a series. I would love to have us in Oladipo's ear chirping and recruiting as much as possible. But ultimately, for the reasons Al said, we're not winning a championship. So let's do this Philly thing. Like, let's see that out. I also think this is that you can get Philly, you can get in their head and knock them off of their game mentally. We've seen it already. I think that you can get to that spot a little quicker than you could with versus Indiana. So if we're going to some of the intangible stuff, give me Philly.
Brady, who you want?
I would go Philly just because I think the 76ers, they beat themselves. They don't that's just what they do. I just think that when you look back even last year, they made a good run, but that was mostly because of Jimmy Butler, and it wasn't led by Simmons and Embiid. That those two guys are not going to work together in the playoffs all the way along against these teams. I really don't think that's the thing.
All right, I'm not laughing at you, Brady. I'm going to get to Jen in a second, but one of our friends here, Carlisiana, please, Ethan, stop the jinx tweet before the game ends. I'm like 0 for my last 10. Every single time I've tweeted anything, and yesterday I decided to turn. It's not even tweeting it; it's just turning the game on. That's the problem. By the way, Indiana's up 28-10, so maybe I'll jinx them. I am 3 for 3. Jenna, you're up. Who do you want?
I want Philly all day. Just win or lose, I want Philly. Indiana is it's way, like Al said, it's way more entertaining to play Philly than Indiana. And if we lose to Philly, the loss is a little less of a sting than if we lose to Indiana, and just avoid that at all costs.
Well, that's easy for you to say because I got a bunch of 76ers fans.
I feel like the 76ers will go off for a whole 2 years and we'll never hear the end of it.
Well, especially
hang a banner. That's what they do.
Especially if Jimmy plays poorly. That's the other thing. Especially
and then if Josh Richardson plays well, then that's all you guys are going to see on Twitter. Like, oh, I can't believe we traded away Richardson.
But that's not going to happen. Come on now. Have the guts. Have the guts.
The Sixers fans hang a banner for every playoff game win, not series. Every game win.
No, just playoff game played.
Yeah.
I mean, their last championship was Reagan's first term. So that'll give you a little bit of context. 33 seconds left in the Suns-Clippers game, by the way. Clippers down 2. All of these games, it's crazy. All of these games have been good. Like, I'm not saying they've all been well played, but like with the exception of like 2 or 3 games that none of them have.
Well,
been
Saturday had a
blowouts.
few games. Saturday had a few games.
Bubble forever, baby.
Well, I think it's like I said before this started. I think it's flattened things a little bit. I think it's taken away some of the advantages, some of the momentum that some of the better teams had. I do wonder with Milwaukee. Everybody thinks they're just going to flip a switch. I'm not so sure. I'm really not. I mean, they need Bledsoe healthy, and they need. That core needs to play in totality. All right, real quick, 30 seconds or less, then we're going to go to actually watch this thing. Be back at halftime. Jenna, you start this time. Boston or Miami today?
Without Jimmy, Boston.
Brady.
I'm gonna go with Miami. I think Kendrick Nunn and Hero are gonna step up and have really good games today and make their case.
All right, we
Guts.
got a Kendrick Nunn believer. All right,
Guts.
Greg, you can't follow that any other way, I guess, right?
Well, I mean, you guys know where I'm going with this, but I'll give you 3 reasons why. Kelly Olynyk revenge game. Tyler Hero started to look like he put things together in the last game, so we're going to see an extension of that. And then it's the Bam matchup and culture. So there's a 4th thing. So I'm going.
You can't
going
throw in
Heat.
culture. Culture.
Oh yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Not in a one game sample size.
Those are Greg's keys to the game, bro. You can't tell them
Come
what
on
to.
now.
Can't
Culture.
put.
Culture. Alf, don't give me culture. I don't want to hear that crap. What do you who do you like?
I honestly think that Bam's going to have a big game. I think Kendrick's going to have a bounce back game. Tyler's going to have a bounce back game. But I honestly don't think they care about winning this game. So I don't see them playing any of those guys a ton of minutes. So I think because of that, you're probably going to get a Celtics win. But more because that the Heat probably are they just want to get to the playoffs, I think, at this point. And I don't think you're going to see 40 minutes from Bam to try to pull this game out. So I'm going Celtics, but just because the Heat aren't trying, because I have guts.
Unless Eric forgets he's on the court and just leaves him out there. And thanks for that. So notorious and every guys already. Matt, you're up. Who you like?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Celtics on this one. I mean, I didn't bet this game, but I'm gonna go with Celtics because the reason that Alvin pretty much said the Heat aren't gonna care. They're gonna care, but not that much. It's not enough to, put everything on the line to win. So.
I got the line at 3.5, so I'm going with the Celtics on this one.
Wow.
I do think that Miami will keep it close, but to me, if I thought Dragic was going to play 30 to 35 minutes, I'd feel better about it. But I think there's going to be like a 5 or 6 minute stretch where they cannot get into offense, and it's going to be one of these 13-3 runs during that period, and I think it's going to be too much to recover from.
When did we become the gambling? When did we become the gambling degenerate podcast?
Right, I know. Like we keep referencing lines and over.
My bad. That's my bad.
That's oh my God! Did you see the shot?
Devin Booker, yeah.
Oh,
he just won the game on a 3.
Justice not better.
2, but still.
Justice not better.
Gosh.
At the buzzer, 117. I'm not supposed to get play-by-play. Okay,
that's not a play-by-play.
That's not.
Yeah, no, it's already happened.
Oh wow.
Ball away, buzzer.
I must be behind.
That's Tyler Hero in 5 years.
This is there you go. This is all because I was supposed to be at this game today. This is I'm telling you.
I need better cable.
I missed one Dolphin game in 2018, Miami Miracle. I missed one Heat game during Dwayne's return. He made a buzzer beater against Golden State.
Don't watch today's
Miami
game.
Miracle today. Miami Miracle today, baby. Let's go.
Don't watch today's game.
You don't waste it on this. He just hit a fall away buzzer beater over Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
I think the Clippers forgot to show up to the bubble.
That's because Lou Williams been talking about these wings for so long that everybody's like, bro, I can't wait to get this shit.
I mean, baffled by how they played.
And he got fouled, by the way.
That's one of the most impressive buzzer beaters I've seen in a long time. Considering the 2 guys he made it over. Yeah. And they are fighting for a playoff spot, so it's meaningful. It's not a garbage game for the Suns. The Suns are trying to.
He looks just like Tyler Hero.
I heard Devin Booker hit a milestone today or something, like first to 7,500 points, one of the youngest players to ever do it.
You're gonna make everybody cry.
And probably gave up 8,500 points.
All right, he wouldn't have fit the culture, right? He wouldn't have been a fit for the culture.
Because our point guards defend. Oh wait.
He didn't know. Buzzer beater turnaround over the 2 best defensive wings in the league.
I think I'd rather have 50 points.
All right. We'll be back at halftime. Jenna, thanks for stopping by. Matt, Greg, Brady. Follow everybody. We'll be back.
Justice
at halftime.
Not better.
Justice better. We still love you, Justice.
Vote for Paul Millsap. All right, guys.
Yeah.
He has it on his shirt.
That's right. Vote for Millsap.
I would vote for him over. Never mind. Let's go.
Education reform. See you guys later.